This call is now being recorded. This
Good.
call is now taking notes.
Good evening,
Good.
sir.
A very good evening to us all once again. Yeah, good evening. Confirm that you can
Good
see the
evening,
screen.
sir.
Yeah, you're all welcome. Confirm that you can see the screen. All right, um let's jump at the topic we have for tonight. Okay. In our last class we stopped at business. Business what now? Business objectives. Right? We did business objectives. And today, oh God, we're going to look at the next arm, right? Good. So here we have a courseware. So we'll be looking at it side by side, our notes. Okay. Yep. Good. Okay. So let the people keep coming in, please, so that we have a good number. But we've kicked off already. That's what it means. All right. We've kicked off already. So that's what it means. Okay. Strategy. When you look at our initial diagram, our first model, you see where strategy falls in. And many of you have already understood that. So we treated this. And now we're going to treat strategy in line with the concept of strategic management. The concept of strategic management. The concept of strategic management. Okay? Good. So, right, before I ask, what do you think is the term strategy? Where does it come from? What does it mean? Let me hear from you. Let me see how I can do it in such a way that I should be able to see people while I am looking at the other screen.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. Oh, you want to help us, right? So tell us what you understand by the term strategy.
Strategy. For me, I would say, in other words, strategy is planning or process. I don't know how correct that is.
Okay. It says strategy is planning or process, right? Okay, any other one? Thank you very much for that. Any other person? Tell us what strategy is. I'm still waiting. Let me not show you what's in my notes, so I'll just talk from here. Okay, because I believe you still have access to the notes, but let's just go ahead and talk. You see, go ahead and speak.
I don't know. Strategy.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go on, please.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you. I can
Hello,
hear
good
you.
evening,
Go
sir.
on. Oh, can everyone hear him? I can hear you, Imam Muhammad.
Sir,
I think you.
strategy is the systematic way of accomplishing a certain task.
Mhm. That's all. That's fine. It's good. All right. So, how many of you watch movies? Everybody watch movie. Everybody here should. You watch movies, right? You must have watched movies around kingdoms. Okay, one common one in recent times is Game of Thrones, right? How many of you must have many people should know Game of Thrones now. There have been many other ones that have been quite okay. We have the Lord of the Rings and some of those other movies where we have kingdoms and kings.
Squid Game.
Yeah, or join. So we have kingdoms and kings, and they are always having one reason to go to war. They're having one reason to go to battle. Right? Now, when they pitch their camp, okay, when they pitch their camp, when the king and his army, excuse me, please, sorry about that. All right, sorry about
The
that. Yeah,
network is breaking.
I actually was muted, so I had to mute myself so I could attend to something else. Briefly, that's trying to interrupt. Okay, good. So, and then the kings and their armies pitch the camp. Are you picturing it? As I'm talking now, I want to start picturing it. And then there'll be a chamber in the war front. Yeah, you must have watched Merlin also. Merlin of old is another from popular one, right? The one I love most is the Lord of the Rings because you get to see them sitting in the boardroom making decisions. Okay, it's not a boardroom like the kind of boardroom you have, it's just a tent, but it's a large table, and on that table they will spread the map. The map shows the battlefield, and on the battlefield you'll be seeing the map of the battlefield. You'll be seeing where there are mountains, where there are valleys, where there are rivers, okay, stuff like that, and then where they are currently and where their enemy soldiers also are camped, and how what they have. You can see we have land soldiers here, we have archers. Archers are those who shoot arrows, okay? We have arrow soldiers here, we have those kind of ones who do some kind of mechanical kind of shootings, and then that's the plan. Are you getting it now? But that plan is not an ordinary plan. That's where the word strategy comes from. The word strategy comes from war. So you're asking yourself, these are enemies. What kind of soldiers? Who are their best soldiers? What are their advantages? How do they do battle? Are they fierce? Do they have, are they barbaric kind of people? Or, yeah, you also watch one they call Bahubali. I think I remember that one too. Okay. So on that map, you can see it. We can hide behind this rock. That means the rock is becoming an opportunity. And then we release the first set of soldiers to go against the enemies here. If the enemies come from here, we will send our archers to shoot arrows and then stuff like that. Now there are four basic considerations here. Should I say four? Not necessarily. Okay. Number one, I just count. When I speak, you count them. Number one, the objective. As I'm making this plan, we are considering a number of things. Number one, the objective, what we want to achieve. Number two, the means. What do we have to achieve that objective? Number three, okay, what are, should I say now, the opportunities available out there that can help us, give us some strong points and advantages to achieve that objective when we put together what we have. Number four, what do we lack that may make it difficult for us to achieve those objectives? And number five, what are the things that are out there that will fight against us naturally or normally from achieving that objective? So when you have a plan, like our sister said, okay, Madam Oiza, she said, the strategy is a plan. Then the other person, Madam Imams, Dr. Imam, should I call you doctor now, right? Madam Imam said, he talks about the word systematic. Okay, but don't use the word process. Don't use the word process. Process does not come in strategy at the beginning. Process come at the implementation stage. of strategy. Okay, so when you're defining what a strategy is different from when it's being implemented. Okay, so there is the strategy formulation to make sure that the strategy exists. Then, before we can start talking about implementation of strategy, that's where process comes to play. That's where policies also come to play, as we will be seeing in our next class. But now, a strategy is a master plan, not just any out plan. Every strategy, you see a statement that says, every strategy is a plan. That's what you can see on my screen. Every strategy is a plan, but not every plan is a strategy. Do you agree? Because so here we said a strategy is a plan, but not just an ordinary plan. Okay. Now I said when defining strategy, you must consider a number of things, right? Number one, the objectives. The objectives, particularly in the term of the objective. Then number two, the means. I've already said that now, right? What do you have? The means could be the resources you have, the methods, the procedures, the decisions, the policies, your internal anyway. And then I think I love the way I put it here. So it's just three major things. Then the environmental influence. By environmental influence, we are referring to SWOT. SWOT is short for strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Okay, so you said you see why the term was first used by warlords. Okay, so a strategy is a comprehensive master plan which clearly states the objectives and the means through which they will be achieved, carefully or tactfully considering the internal and external environmental influence. I think we can put it this way: environmental influence. Right? Are you with me? Confirm that you understand what I just said now. Because it looks like it's straightforward to me. Okay. Mhm. So strategy covers many other things. Okay, like market position, operational conduct, like you can see on my screen. Okay, especially how competition can be dealt with. Strategy issues usually come up majorly because of competition. Okay, so that's what strategy is. So we're beginning this course lecture tonight by discussing strategy. And you can see strategy at different levels: corporate strategy, business strategy, and then functional strategy. I want to explain this term functional. More functional strategy could be, when we say business functions, business functions refers to departmental responsibilities like marketing, human resource, finance, name them. There are many, right? Those are what my business functions. That is different from functions of business in a society. Okay, we know that the functions of business in a society include creation of value, to create value or utility, I mean to create produce goods and services that can satisfy want, okay, to make profit and so on and so forth. But that is quite different from business functions. So functional strategy have their bearings from business functions. So for instance, a marketing strategy is a functional strategy. A finance strategy is a so finance strategy could be on how they can get funds, increase their money that comes in, and also reduce cost. My human resource strategy is also a different one. Okay, around these are all strategies at the functional concern. Okay, good. But that's quite different from business strategy. Business strategy could be looking at different business wings. When we say, when we say, let's use, I usually use banks. Okay, banks, they're not just banking business, there are many banks too. I think which one is coming to my mind now? Zenith Bank has a health insurance company that they work that they operate. That health insurance company is called Venus. I think Stanbic Stanbic Bank also has Stanbic IBTC pensions, right? That's also another business on its own. But all of these come under the same umbrella. So when each of those businesses have strategies that concern what they do, that's what we say, that's what we call a business strategy. Okay, strategy adopted by business units of an organization. But corporate strategy refers to the overall strategy. So we have Leadway. Leadway in Nigeria, for example, we have Leadway Insurance on the left hand. They are Leadway Pensions on another hand. These are two different strategic business units, right? Just like ABU has distance studying arm, and then they have other programs. Okay, good. Now this term was discussed in our previous class, but I said we'll leave it, we'll discuss it here. Strategic vision. Vision is an objective, right? Vision is an objective. The objective that tells you about the direction, the future direction. Now, this term strategic vision is taking that objective one step deeper. Now, not just any, you don't just wake up. Good. It was in our last class that we were looking at vision statements of different companies, right? That was 2 weeks ago. Good. So when that vision becomes strategic, it means it's more like a gun, a weapon that we're actually, as we're crafting that business statement, we're looking at it in a particular area. That's how we said it specifies. It's not enough for it to be the roadmap of the company's future, for it to be a strategic vision. Okay, so it's talking about the products or the customer or the technology or the market, something that just gives its employees and its stakeholders that drive as to where they are going. Now, this is why many vision statements will always refer to the products. Okay, they always refer to the products that they are doing, that they have, that they want to use to quench the market, grab all the entire market. Okay, good. So that's what we mean by strategic vision. So when you see what is strategic vision, you will know exactly what it is about. Okay, good. So we have strategic flexibility. We'll talk about that when we go to our notes. But before then, let me just discuss. When we say flexibility, it means something that can change. Not so easily though, but it can change. So the strategic flexibility refers to a situation where certain things are happening in the external environment, and it's quite difficult, and it's affecting the current strategy. The current strategy is going to be is not going to work with this. How quickly can the businesses, okay, be flexible? How can they adjust that strategy to meet with the current expectations? That's what strategy flexibility is about. So this happens due to some events. Those events are called strategy triggering events. Okay, like for instance, there are many examples which you will find out. You can even think of some by yourself. The moment Tinubu said subsidy is gone, okay, you see now that businesses are supposed to change their strategy. Or when you get a new CEO, definitely the CEO will come in and give you his own expectation, right? So this also connects us to what's called strategy, proactiveness or reactiveness of strategy. How can your strategy react? Should your strategy be proactive? Proactive strategy is the first one you set out. But when things happen, okay, let's read this. I love the way what is coming on here. Strategy is an proactive strategy is an initial strategy, right? That has its own objective, its own means, and so on and so forth. So it anticipates changes in the environment through what they call strategic foresight, and then responds even before the event actually takes place. Okay, just like those of us who are farmers or who run farming organizations in Nigeria, and you see the way the government is taking steps to crash the price of maize, for example. Businesses who go into that, who have stocked up maize over the years, should be able to see that coming and then take action almost immediately. Now, that may not be their plan. Their plan must have been that, oh, we buy this maize during harvest at, for example, 500 naira per kg or 50,000 naira per bag, believing that maybe it might get to 80,000 naira per bag and then we'll sell. That's the plan. That's the initial plan. But I did not find out that the government is doing some things, importing maize at 15,000 naira. So the price of maize starts crashing gradually, 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 gradually. What are they supposed to do? They are supposed to have a reactive strategy. React to this situation. How? Look for a way to see how long will this thing continue? Will it stop? Will it not stop? What is the sustainability of this thing that the government is doing? Okay. Put on plus and minus. The strategy now should be we may not have to keep this maize any further. We'll just have to dispose of it. Okay, so that's that about strategy first. I think all of these issues come under strategic flexibility, and then we talk about the most recent thinkings about strategy, and then the evolution of strategy. So that's all. Let's look at our our courseware, and make sure that we're not missing out on anything, right? Good, 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 good. So that should be on study session 3 and 4. Study session 3 and 4 takes us through strategy, right? Yeah. So let's look at that and then be sure that there are areas you will need to study on your own. Okay, ensure you study them on your own and go deep, because I'm not supposed to come and start reading your notes to you here. I'm only supposed to simplify the areas that may appear not so clear and then give you a structure. And that's actually what I'm doing. I'm giving you a structure so that when you begin to study on your I'm giving you a structure so that when you begin to study on your own, you are actually flowing quite well. So that's the next topic, the nature and value of strategic management. Okay, so we're supposed to look at all of these subtopics. The origin, I've studied the origin, right? It came from war. The development of business strategy. We'll talk about that. That's next we want to talk about. The meaning of strategy and strategic management. The way we're going to do this is to first of all look at the word strategy and then look at the word management. Okay. So we said what is strategy and what's the difference between policy and strategy. What are the key activities in strategic management? What are the functions of strategic management? What are the dimensions of strategic management? What are the characteristics of strategic management? What are the major benefits of strategic management? And what are the risks of strategic management? So you have these things to study. Let's go back to the note. And then when we come back here, we have what we want to study. The evolution of business strategy. How business strategy evolved from the ancient times to what we have today. Okay. Now, the thing is, what do we have today? In today's world, what do you see? Today's world is characterized by competition, as in, which you can even say is unhealthy to a very large extent. Everything can be legal, but to be frank with you, the objective is not just that they want to be number one in the industry, but they want to be the only ones. Every bank wants to be the only bank. If you ask them, they will tell you they want to be the only bank. You see the way of making sure that the other banks don't operate legally. They will do that, right? They will not tell you to your face, though. But that's actually how today's world has become. But in the beginning, that first time, many years ago, it was not like that. Okay, it was not like that. So these issues around strategy started coming up around 1950. So that's the first point of call now when we're talking about evolution of strategy. At that stage, there was no competition issues. Okay. But what are they doing? What are businesses doing? What are businesses doing at that stage? You can see the only thing they're doing at that stage is financial planning. What they're doing at that stage is called what? Financial planning. And what does that imply? In financial planning, the only thing businesses are doing is how to raise more capital. That's all their focus, how to raise more capital, increase revenue, and reduce cost. Raise more capital, raise more revenue. How can we increase our revenue from the market? Nobody is really thinking about how to oust the other organization or competitor. No. Okay, good. So that's that stage. But for what you can see around now, you will know that a whole lot has changed, right? A lot has changed. So we said things began to change, and then we started having what they call corporate planning. That is around 10 years after that. We started having corporate planning. Around this time, competitions are not yet set in still. Okay. But they started having visions, mission, all these things about vision statement, goals. Okay. Those things started coming up. That's called the corporate planning stage. Okay. They use corporate plans to set strategic visions and goals. They have projected sales targets, they identify new opportunities, and then their focus. There was they did not really concern what the other parties are doing in the industry. So this issue of competition started creeping in the third stage. We call it industry analysis and competitive positioning stage. And it happened after the oil crisis of 1973. That oil crisis of 1973 caused many things to crash. Just the way the Nigerian economy is being affected now by what? By whatever you think it is affecting it. It's affecting business. So businesses have to survive. And in order to survive, they need to get all that they can. And in order to get all that they can, they need to make sure that they get more than what their competitors are getting. So the issue around industrial analysis comes to be. What is industrial analysis? In the banking industry, for instance, a GT Bank, for example, you always check out what a Zenith Bank is doing, what First Bank is doing, what how the other banks are performing compared to how they GT are performing, right? That's what they call industrial analysis. You are doing an overall analysis of the performance of the industries of the companies rather in a particular industry. MTN and Glow and they will always compare themselves with themselves, okay, so that they can position themselves rightly competition wise. Is that okay? So I said we have the financial planning stage in the early 1950s. We have the corporate planning stage. We have the industrial analysis in the late 1970s. And today, what we have, the competition has so grown that everybody is looking for his own strength to use as an advantage. Just the way GT started using technology. GT Bank started using technology back then. Before anything, they came up with Star 737. Hey, what is that? What is that? USSD. Everybody started. The last people to even move, I think, was UBA Bank. They were the last, Union Bank, sorry. Union Bank was the last to even move to USSD. I don't even know what the USSD is. Today, every bank is, before anything, GT Bank has jumped on app. Yeah. Okay, mobile banking. Before you know anything, self-service. Okay, they just keep looking for one way or another to make technology move. And before you know it, new banks are coming out, employing their strength. OPay is trying to push the market hard and be everywhere that even these other banks cannot go ordinarily, right? So these are all firm specific advantage, right? And they use it, they exploit it to their advantage. So that is that about what I would call what I'll call strategy and the evolution or development of strategy over the 4 stages. Okay, if you check your past questions, you find out that that's a question that usually comes out. Give me a second, please. Promise me, give me a second, please. Yeah. All right. So, any questions so far? There's any question on this so far? So far, we've discussed strategy. We'll run through the notes after we have discussed management. Okay. We'll run through the notes, not the notes now, the courseware after we've discussed management. Okay, so we discuss strategy, strategic vision, and co. So when we marry them together, we'll now have what is called strategic management. So management is now the noun. Strategy is turned into an adjective, and that becomes strategic. So what would you say it is? By the time you must have known what strategy, what management, we'll discuss management. So you can now say a management, a kind of management that is strategic. So you have to, of course, you have to express those words contained in there. So, but what question? What is management? All right, let me hear you speak. What do you understand by the term management? Someone talking, I'm listening. Hello,
Hello,
can
can
you
you
hear
hear
me?
me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Couldn't hear you before, but I can hear you
Good
now.
evening.
Good evening, madam.
So, management is the process of planning, organizing, directing, and controlling resources.
Thank you very much. That's a beautiful one. Okay, management involves that process. Okay, thank you so much. That's fine. So we can work with that, but let's look at it from different perspective. Management management in our everyday use can be seen as 2 things. Okay, that process that you talked about, or the very people, like the people who carry out that process are also called management. Right? That's why you see a document, they will say signed management. The management has said, okay. Good. So that's how we're going to look at them at 2 different levels. Okay. So, but going by what she gave to us, we'll say management is a process, and that process has to do with planning. You see now, planning has come, right? Organizing, staffing, leading, okay, and controlling resources to achieve certain results. Now, we're talking about strategy, and in strategy, we're talking about about planning. So, we'll be looking at the planning function of management. Okay, that's what connects management primarily to strategic management or to strategy. But on the other hand, you also need to know that management refers to the people who run the organization. I put here the orgas at the top. Okay, and that happens at 3 levels. We have the top management, the middle management, and the lower management. Okay, but let's go on. Our focus here should be on the planning function of management. What is planning? Planning actually means determining in advance. Excuse me. Determining in advance. What are we determining in advance? The objective and the means of achieving them. Okay, what do we want to achieve? That is what we want to achieve, and how do we want to achieve them? Determine them in advance. So that's what it is. So we're going to marry these two together. Strategic management a system of management through which the long-term objectives of an organization, as well as the means of achieving them, are determined in advance. Remember I talked about determining in advance. Good. And the the action plans involved are implemented, evaluated, and controlled in the face of environmental forces / influences. Okay, environmental forces / influences. Yeah, good. So we said strategic management involves a process where the strategic vision is formulated, right? Then, while that's going on, objectives are set. So based on that objective, we have a strategy that can meet with that vision, that strategic vision. And then we bring up the implementation of that strategy. Okay. And then you now watch the results, the outcome, and the expectation. Okay, that's what they call control in business. Control in management sciences simply means that you are evaluating the outcome against the expected, and then you are taking necessary steps to make sure that there's no gap, there's no difference, that what you're actually getting is actually what you expect to get. Where there's a gap, you're taking steps, intentional steps to correct those gaps. Okay, that's what's called control. Okay, so I got 70% here. Good. So from here, I think we can just rush up here and then jump on our courseware and see what we can find out in the next 20 minutes. Okay, so read in your courseware your objectives. What do we want to achieve from strategic management? What is the strategic management process? There's a model there that shows, number one, situation analysis. Before planning, you do your situation analysis. Where are we now? What do we have now? Before you start talking about the strategic planning now, which you begin, okay, where are we headed? And in that way, are we headed? You are going to form, where are we going? Are we going to the north or to the south or to the east or to the west? That's what we mean by this part now. You are forming up, you're bringing up different possible alternatives. And then you are evaluating them and say, it's best we go to the south. It's best we go to the north. Based on this and that, it's best we go to the center. Stuff like that. That is that. Number one, situation analysis. Number two, the strategic planning stage. Number three, when you have now chosen your strategy, you deploy it, you implement it. Okay. Deploy simply means complete the plan and then you communicate it to everybody that will have one role or another to play. And then you release the money. That's the implementation. You release the money and let's get to work. Release the resources and let's get to work. Measurement and evaluation. I love these 5 steps. They are complete and straightforward. Measurement and evaluation. Okay. These are where you measure the outcome and then you evaluate against the expected outcome. And then you do control. Any corrective measure that you need to apply, you do that. Good. So in this strategic management process, you need to answer these questions as to how this topic applies to different types of businesses. Okay, to companies, to entrepreneurs, to non-profit starts. So the remaining things are what you will read from your courseware. So we're going to go to our courseware now and look at a few things, the functions, the characteristics and dimensions, okay, and then the levels of strategic management decisions. Let's jump there very quickly as we roll. Good. So let's go. Okay, this is an introduction. They're trying to tell you where all of these things came from. I've told you simple and short. It came as a result of competition and wars. Okay. Now, in this topic, in this courseware, the explanation is beginning from environment, which you've already studied, different type of environment. Okay, and the stakeholders. right? And then they give you learning outcome. I told you about war. Strategies are used in military warfare for thousands of years. That's the first thing I told you. But in business, it came up in 1950 as observed by Craig and Grant. You will see these kind of things in your exams or in your CBT. Who observed it that is being brought into business? Craig and Grant. Okay. So it passed through four stages. I told you the first stage was the financial planning stage. Okay, they do budgeting, they introduce budgeting and expenditure, how to increase income. I've told you that already. And then corporate planning, where they start seeing the business as an entity on its own, having a long-term goal and objective. And then the stage where we got to industry analysis and competitive positioning. So we discuss all of these, right? And then we discuss firm specific advantage in my notes. I think those have been simplified there. Okay. And good, very good. So this part is supposed to be separate, I think, from here. Dynamics, the dynamics of the business environment. Dynamics means that it is subject to change. Okay, we said strategic management has now evolved to the point that it is primary, that its primary value, not it is, that what its primary value is to help the organization operate successfully in a dynamic and complex environment. Dynamic, it changes that you cannot predict, and it's complex. So to be competitive in a dynamic environment, corporations and businesses have to become more flexible. They have to become more flexible. So this is where flexibility, strategic flexibility comes to play, right? Like you saw in the note. Okay. If the environment is stable, no problem. Okay. Just read all of this. Anyway. So we talk about strategic flexibility as what? The ability to shift from one dominant strategy to another. So strategic flexibility demands a long-term commitment to development and nurturing of critical resources. Just read up all of this yourself. I'm not going to come here and start reading for you. So we said people at all levels need to be involved in strategic management. So we jump to this point when I talked about strategy triggering events. Event that trigger strategy, event that stimulate change in strategy. A very simple example in Nigeria is the political climate that we had that time, where cash was becoming almost impossible to get. That's an external factor. But let's look at what they have. Okay. Number one, a new CEO. We have a new CEO. The new CEO is coming to implement things based on what he has in his own sleeve, trying to correct the things that make him a new CEO. Number two, intervention by an external institution. There are many reasons where this one can fall under. Like the one of the CBN of last year is an external institution. The one of the government is an external something. Okay. But the example they give here anyway, the one they give here anyway is talking about banks. But there are many examples. So we also have threat of a change in ownership. These are for companies whose stocks are traded in the open. Another company might buy up to 50%, 51% of their shares and become the lion's share. Good. Recognition of a performance gap. What's going on? We're not making profits. We need to change strategy. That's what it simply means. Good. So go and read all of those, understand them very well. Read this aspect that talks about strategic management perspectives. Okay. Read it, and then the meaning. We discussed this, right? We are trying to here. They're trying to look at the meaning of strategic management. We've discussed the concept of management already. Good. And then they told you about a few persons, a few management authors, Peter Drucker and Dalton, and what they founded, right? And then the coursework comes here to define strategy. You see, That's actually different from the way I structured mine. Okay, but it typically is the same thing. Okay, good. A typical dictionary would define the word strategy as something that has to do with war and ways to win over an enemy. Okay, so in business, we are looking for how to respond to that dynamic and hostile external force as we try to achieve our mission and our vision, as we try to fulfill our mission and achieve our vision. Good. So let's just go on. Read all of these yourself according to Porter and Porter. The most recent thinkings in in strategy. Read them up by yourself. Okay, we're going to wrap up this class soon. Good. Here is the nature of the formulation of strategy. Strategies are formed at the corporate level, the divisional level, and the functional level. So I said functions of strategy, right? Based on formulation, corporate level, divisional, and functional. Study these ones. The difference between policy and strategy, we will discuss that in our next class. Okay. Proactiveness and reactiveness of strategy. We've done that also in their course, so I want to study it. The strategic management process, study this as well. Study it in depth. It's a whole lot of items that we have in here. Okay. And then this diagram was what I used to make up that process. From the pre-planning stage, which is situational analysis, we get to the strategic planning stage, and then we deploy and we release resources, and then we implement, and then we measure, and then it takes us back there. Okay, so the key activities, right? We discussed all of this in our notes. Just follow it up. The key activities. Okay, situation analysis happens all the time actually. Okay, you have the strategic direction formed, strategy formulation, and then strategy implementation. Good. Okay. So the same process is typical. Just read all of these things anyway. You're good to go. They have 9 full topics here. It's 9:30 already. Okay. I think I would like to stop this class here. I'm just doing this so that you don't miss anything. And let me tell you why you have to do this. Are you following me now? If you check the past questions, you will see that we have covered many of the questions have focused on certain parts of the textbook. We've not come all this deep, but this year, this semester going forward, we're coming this deep when we are setting questions. So if I want to give you an area of concentration, I would just say all the questions that you have not seen in all the past questions before, start expecting them to come out from this semester going forward. I hope that's taken right. Good. I believe you got that. So that's it. That's just it. There's a whole lot of information here that I need to digest. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. My time is up. I have something else to attend to right now. And I want to appreciate you for this class. If you have any question, please ask us. Ask me now so that we'll discuss them together. Here, why do strategies fail? It's a very important point. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Can we send you a message on WhatsApp if we go through the lectures again and the course material, and probably we have any questions?
Yeah, you can always do that. If you follow through my orientation, you would have found out that one of the things that you can always do is to message me on WhatsApp, either privately or in the group. I would advise that you send questions that pertain to the course into the group. Okay, questions that pertain to what others can benefit from, send them into the group. But if there are private issues, then you can chat me up. I actually don't appreciate chatting me up. Calling me on the phone on something that we've not chatted me up. over.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Thank you
so
very much.
I usually appreciate it when you chat me up, and then if it's an issue that we need to now talk over the phone, I can now say, okay, let's proceed. Then give me a call back so time. So feel
Okay.
free to do that. Okay, feel free to do that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's a whole lot here, please. You can see how bulky this chapter is, right?
Yes.
Okay, so please go deep and study to the last point, to the last breath, page 78 here. Good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. I want to believe everybody is okay. There's enough guide for you to access all of our materials. I believe you have that guide. The link, the folder contains all the guides to the lecture notes, the past questions, the videos, recorded video links that you just click and then you're there. Okay, you can watch the videos on your phone. So this one will be updated once it's ready. I believe it should be ready anytime from this midnight. So by the time it's ready, I would have downloaded. I will download by tomorrow and then upload on the YouTube channel and add the link to the sheet. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now so that we can wrap up this class. Thank you so much.